Hello Star Citizens, Zypher Evolved here, and this video that you have begun watching is a little bit of an experiment. In recent weeks I have begun to think about how we could possibly take community discussion and put that into video. Now obviously discussion does not belong in video because there's no way to take part in the discussion through that video itself. However, when publishing on YouTube, you do have the ability to comment under the video, and therefore I wondered if putting even parts of discussion on YouTube from the Robert Space Industries forum would kickstart the discussion on YouTube, which is and would be great for the game. So traffic would come from YouTube as a result, obviously, because I would have a link on the video, and that would link back to the original thread. And I've considered covering other social networks also, and just taking a snapshot of discussion and then trying to sort of create a spark and ignite something on YouTube. So I experimented last night. I enjoyed doing what I was doing, but some approaches felt a little boring, and therefore for this video I'm going to focus on one element of the Robert Space Industries website, and that is the polls. This game is backed by approaching, I think it's it's over 900,000 backers at least, and they are very keen on creating polls and generating statistics that help us understand the wider community. I believe the developers have some use of some polls that are created. The opinions matter in a game that is crowd-funded, and therefore I believe that encourages some users of the forum to create polls as well, because they do feel, and I feel at the moment, we are being listened to. So let's crack on. That's a long introduction. All my videos won't have this introduction. This is simply because it's the first of many. If you're not keen on the whole polls thing, please remember I am planning on focusing on the community activity and trying to find a format that works for at least some people within the community. So if you don't enjoy it, I would appreciate it if you still subscribe to check out the future videos. If you do enjoy it, please don't forget to comment so that I know and I can continue creating videos of a similar nature. Alright, so let's crack on with focusing on polls and putting those polls into video content. Right, this is the interest in Star Marine poll by STAR-TBYK. He probably wants to be called something like Cuboiks, but just to be difficult, I'm going to call him STAR-TBYK. Right, so STAR-TBYK has created a poll asking, are you interested in the FPS aspect of Star Citizen? And we have 456 votes, with 23.46% of voters voting no, and I find that amazing. I really do. So what I thought was a simple poll is actually really good. It's surprising. It surprised me. It has me thinking about the number of players in the verse who don't want to be shot at, and how many players in the verse who will love to shoot at those players. How many of you may hunt with 23% to not just get an easy kill, but to kill a character that belongs to someone that you know is really going to be pissed off. You know, I've come across a lot of gamers who play PvP to get a bad reaction from players, to be sworn at, because that's the point. They know they have, you know, they've really done it. So it creates an interesting dynamic. I myself one day might have been the type of player that would hunt anyone who shows any kind of weakness, who indicates that they are not keen or good at a specific thing in a game. I would seriously hunt and exploit that weakness. And why not? Is that not how it works in real life? Should the verse be any different? No. So I do expect anybody who opens their mouth and says that they are not good or interested in FPS to be hunted, someone out there is going to take your name and add it to their list just for fun. Alright, so but you know, we are going to get every type of player in Star Citizen. Like in real life, if you can imagine a human being doing something, the chances are there's one human being out there doing it, and I think it will be the same in Star Citizen, especially when it comes to killing. So FPS, 23% of you don't like it. Tough. I'm I don't know what people are going to do. I don't know if the developers are seriously going to find a way for such players to exist in the game and avoid FPS. You know, seriously avoid it. If, as a community, we do get the sense that there is a way to avoid it, then those who thrive on FPS, you know, I'm not talking about those who want to get the kicks out of killing characters who belong to that 23%. I'm talking about just those who just enjoy FPS, boarding and the mix. They may find and be able to, you know, get a good sense of what ships and what orgs are a little non-FPS. For example, we may find that this 23% are the high rollers, the big spenders, and they will be on your larger ships. And what will that tell us? That will tell us that once we get on those larger ships, FPS may be easy. Alright? Now obviously those players will probably be good at the whole spaceship side of it. So, you know, getting on those ships may be an issue. Okay, but it is interesting to think, you know, if I'm right, and I do suspect that the majority of high rollers are not in this for FPS, then you know, ships like the Idris and any frigate may be a dream for someone who wants to get up close with their rifles and take out some characters and then stamp on their heads and their bollocks. Alright? So yeah, let me know what you think on that idea, and if possible create more polls that, you know, explore these things. Okay? Right, we're on the focus on keyboard and mouse thread by Mosquito. It's a small post, and the question for the poll is very simple. What will you be using to play Star Marine? It has had 144 votes. 59% have voted mouse and keyboard. 36% have voted HOTAS or joystick, and 4.86% have voted control pad. So very simple, very short. What I would like to mention is my setup. I have two keyboards set up, which I call the co-pilot setup, alright, because it actually allows a second person to help. So a second person can sit down at that keyboard, keep an eye on my screen, keep an eye on shields, and manage some of that while I focus on maneuvers and shooting. I have the Alienware keyboard on the left. The most important keys are under my left fingertips. Those are the get me the hell out of here keys, eject, etc. I keep in mind I'm saying all this as someone who isn't playing the Arena Commander because I don't have a computer to play it. This is a setup that I know I will have based on the other games that I've played, other simulators. So on the right side of my mouse I have the SteelSeries Merc keyboard. The gaming keys on that keyboard are on the left, and the arrangement of keys and the shapes of the keys are unique. I find them really enjoyable to use in a game. I just don't make that keyboard my main keyboard because the software has been a little glitchy. Sometimes when I lock a computer, and this has been on multiple computers, so it definitely is the software, and then come back to the computer, sometimes the keyboard no longer operates in regards to the macros and the programming applied. It sort of reverts back to the default profile, and then sometimes it's almost impossible to kick it back into the profile you need it to use, i.e. for the game that you're on. So it's basically an issue with moving through applications. However, I'm not knocking that keyboard. When that keyboard is working, especially if you go in your game and you plan to stay on the game rather than multitasking as I do. I'm a web developer, so even when I'm playing, even when I'm deep in the game, I'll flick over and do some PHP at some point. It's crazy. So when it's working, it's great to use, and that's my setup. The two keyboard, or the Copilot setup, I like to call it. Please let me know if you also have a Copilot setup that's basically a budget setup, because I haven't bought any fancy peripherals for extra keys that are designed specifically just to give a small sort of an extra keypad sort of layout. Alright, I think that'll do for this clip and this poll. Testing. I'm on the Misc Endeavour concept sale price poll, which has had over 300 votes. I've already participated in Voa's poll, and I found it interesting because there is a little bit of a gap, which might indicate either a gap between people who know what they're talking about and are guessing more accurately on the value of the Misc Endeavour, or we're actually looking at the gap between the working class and the rich. Alright, I do dare say that. I'll show you in a moment. The question is, what price do you expect CIG will set for the Misc Endeavour concept sale? I selected $300. I felt that maybe I was in the correct range of what the ship will be, and that might indicate that I know what I'm talking about, right? And the majority of people are, they're voting around the $350 area. Does that mean that the ship will be that value? Does that mean the majority of voters know what they're talking about, and they're happy to spend that amount? Are they thinking in regards to how much they would want to spend on it, or are willing to spend on it when voting, rather than guessing what CIG will set? So I think when people are voting, rather than stick to that question, they may select a value that allows them to try and communicate to anyone that looks at this poll, possibly CIG staff, that they are willing to spend X amount. So it's hard to know exactly what this poll tells us. However, when we scroll down here, you'll see what I mean with the divide. We have a gap between $600 and $900. Now, yesterday when I did a test run and voted on this poll, the $900+ was 6%, and so that percentage has obviously increased. What is a large amount? The question is the $900+ voters the players who are high rollers with plenty of money, and they are trying to communicate that they want the ship to be that value, or is it simply players who know more than the average player, and therefore an almost 9% of the community making up what is the more dedicated fans? Are they voting correct? Are they voting the closer answer? I've not participated in the thread, and I'm not sure I would go in there drop in questions regarding who makes what money, okay, to try and establish whether or not it's an actual divide between working class or the rich. Obviously it's it could be a touchy conversation, asking people how much money they earn, etc. And that's all going by my theory that a lot of votes will not be voted based on the actual question, what price do you expect CIG will set? Because I feel when it comes to money, people think about their own circumstances very quickly. And what I would like is other polls that maybe explore, or maybe try to establish and push a result that we can say for sure is being done as guesswork based on the what the information that we know about the ship and what we've heard from developers, etc., rather than it being people using the poll to communicate what they think the ship should be or what they wish it should be. I may be wrong on that, alright? That's me throwing ideas out there and thinking about how other people think, which is important with polls in the real world. So that's naturally how I think automatically. You would need to take part in the conversation, which is the point of this video I'm making and put on YouTube, is to try and pull traffic into these conversations. You need to take part in the thread and to establish the true meaning to these statistics. And I'm not going to cover that in this video because it would go on for a long time. What I am going to do is stop here and move on to another poll. This is the small ship endgame post by Cruiser. And I think what he means by endgame is you're sort of maybe a personal endgame. Get the biggest ship in the game, the most expensive ship, and that's it, call it a day sort of thing. That's possible. Some players may do that. When they do have that larger ship, they may feel that there's nothing left to play for. I doubt it. That's normally the thing that happens in other games, and Star Citizen will be very different. The whole roles and purpose to every model and class thing will hopefully work and keep people interested. I'll go down to the poll. The poll title is Ship Endgame. The question is, what do you expect to see when people start to reach endgame? Now, there is no endgame as such, so let's look at endgame as being your personal endgame, and the majority will find that it's a goal as much as an endgame. It's more of a goal, and I think the majority of people who cannot just buy ships outright with their dollars or their pounds and euros, they will obviously play and aim to play to get the larger ships. So taken from that point of view, which is sort of obviously changes the poll's question just a touch, but I think you really have to, I would select everybody racing for the biggest cap ships, even if they have to solo it. Now, that's based on my experience in other games. People, generally play to get the next up and so on. It's not how I'm going to play. Every time I play Star Citizen, I'm not going to be thinking, oh, I've only got X amount of credits to get before, till I can afford such and such a ship. I'm determined just to play this game and focus on the exploring and enjoy it, and I can't see why not, considering what they're planning on doing with this game. So, but I'm selecting that based on, like I said, based on experience in the past, but I'm hoping, this wouldn't be the case. So the other option I believe the majority will select is, let me see, a large variety. It would be the second option. So it would be a large variety of ships across the spectrum, fulfilling their specific roles. Yep, but that's not what I'm going to select. I'm just going to go with my initial. Right, so here we have the majority, 34%. There is no end game. We will always have something new to move on to. Alright, so I think that wraps this video up. Oh, sorry about that. We had what, 3 polls? I've done 3 polls. and it's a small taste of what my idea. Originally I planned to be quite quick on each poll, less opinionated. However, I did decide, let's try some opinions, let's play around with that, because it's not something I've done a lot. I'll see how that goes down, and I think I will make another one that focuses just getting the polls in the videos, a lot of polls, a lot more polls, going over the statistics, and possibly making a video that's just interesting to listen to, and soak up some statistics from a community, an interesting and dynamic community. Or maybe I'm just sad, maybe I'm the only one in the entire 900 odd star citizens who finds these things interesting. Alright, so look out for the next video. If you find this one is a little long, and maybe you feel I go on a little bit too much and talk on each poll, please subscribe and watch the next one, and I'll squeeze in at least 10 to the video, and then we'll take it from there and decide an overall format, and maybe I could set a sort of a minutes goal on a per poll basis with the help of your feedback. Alright, thank you very much.